All right, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to Microsoft Agent Framework Office Hours for March 4th, 2026. As a reminder, this meeting is recorded, and join us every week at 8 a.m. Pacific for our weekly office hours. A few topics, these special topics we're going to go over first. I'd love Sergey. I don't know if Sergey is on the line, but if you want to get ready, I'd love to go over your blog post from the other day real quick, and then Jose has some stuff he'd like to share with us. So Sergey, would you like to go first for a couple minutes and talk about skills integration with Agent Framework?
Yeah, sure. Give me a few minutes. I'll open the blog post and prepare a little bit.
Sure, no problem.
It's
So
fine.
while you're doing that, I think I went over our weekly time slot for folks that are new, as well as our monthly time slot for APEC. And I'll just give folks an update on our releases. We've been releasing release candidate releases every week, so you'll see like a .rc1, .rc2, and so on as we work through the release candidate milestone. There have been a few minor breaking changes in the RCs, and if you go to our repo, and I'll drop a link in the chat, you can see some of those changes there as they go in. But we're marching along. I know top of mind for everybody is when will we reach general availability. I think we're still at least a few weeks away, but expect that to be happening in a matter of weeks. Now's the time. If you if you have been hanging out with projects in semantic kernel and been trying to figure out when is the right time to migrate, now is the right time. We're really interested in feedback from folks who are doing migrations from semantic kernel or from AutoGen, and if they're hitting issues or missing features or capabilities that they need, let us know. We're interested in that, as well as as you take your projects to scale. Seeing more and more folks, customers really bringing their agent framework projects to scale, which is nice to see even before we hit GA. Lots of folks with thousands and thousands of requests per day going through agent framework, which is really nice. Kind of validates that that it's working. Sergey, have I sung and danced long enough, or should we have Jose go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes, as many of you probably know, and as it was mentioned last time during the last office hours, we introduced support for agent skills to both Python and .NET versions. So the functionality we have there is kind of like a minimal version of it. So, but again, so we are currently expanding it and adding like a code skills and adding the executors, allowing you to execute scripts which are coming together with skills. Anyway, so let's start from the basics. What skills are? Basically, it's like a folder with a skill.md file. And that skill.md file may have a set of instructions which will guide your agent to do a certain thing. And the skill.md file has a certain special format. So at the top of the file, you're supposed to provide like details like a name of the skill. Then you are supposed to provide the description of the skill. Basically, that's a context for LLM to know what the skill is about. And then there is additional metadata like license, version, and there is also a metadata field that you can stick an arbitrary data into. Additionally, and optionally, you can add scripts. For example, if your skill need to execute some script like generate a password or parse a document or whatever your skill is responsible for, and if you need a piece of code that will be executed together with that skill, so you're supposed to put that skill into the scripts folder. Script into the script folder. On top of that, you may also add different assets and references. And the reason for all that is the way how the skills are interpreted by agents. So the main idea behind the skills is that all the assets of the skills, they're not loaded into the LLM context in one go. Instead, they are loaded like in a lazy way. So at the beginning, when you call agent.run, only list of the skills is advertised to LLM in instructions. So for example, if you have 2 skills or 3 skills, only the name and description of those skills will be sent to LLM. So no skill MD, no scripts, no references, no assets, only those names and descriptions. After that, when LLM look at your prompt and see, oh, well, in order to finish that prompt, I need to use one of the skills, only then the skill MD, LLM basically will request to load skill MD file. And the skill MD, as I said, will contain a bunch of instructions guiding LLM to solve a certain task in a certain domain. Skill MD itself may have a reference to the assets and scripts. And again, so it's the same way as with skill MD, if LLM see that a certain reference or an assets need to be loaded, it will request that asset, and the skill provider that we have will return that asset to LLM. So as you see, just like basically LLM is kind of like asking piece by piece, only in cases when those pieces are needed. And that's kind of like allows you not to blow out the LLM context in one go. So yep, then as I've said that, like, again, so basic skill will look like this, but again, that would be a primitive one, and probably in most of the cases it will be sufficient. But again, so you can extend them in the way you want by adding the additional references that will be lazy loaded and additional scripts that will be lazy loaded and executed. So in order to use skills with agent framework, you need to use file agent skill provider. So, and you will need to point that file agent skill provider to a folder where you have your skills. And after that, the skill provider will go through the folder, will find all the subfolders that may contain skill.md file, will also find all the references, scripts, and assets that skill has. And then what you need to do is to use this provider and tell agent that you're going to use this provider. And that would be it from the consumer point of view. And then, of course, you need to prompt your agent. And yeah, that would be it. That would you need to do in order to use the skills. Similar thing in Python. So we have the file agent skill provider. You are pointing it to the special folder, and then you are telling the agent that you have the skill provider, and then you're prompting the agent. As simple as that. So what else? Yeah, from the security point of view, again, so treat all the skills as open source dependencies. So use them cautiously. Just check before you're using them. And as I said before, at the moment you can access like a minimal version of it, but now at the moment we are adding programming skills, allowing you to define the resources, assets as a functions, and script as a functions. And on top of that, we are working on like a concept so-called executor or script executor, allowing you to decide which way you want to execute those scripts, whether you're going to use code interpreter, or you're going to use a local or custom script executor, that where you would get full control of a script and you would be able to execute in any environment and any place you want. So that's in short about the agent skills. Thank you.
Thanks, Sergey. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of use of agent skills. I think folks, if you've been, I'm sure most folks on this call have been using either like GitHub Copilot or Claude Code. and pretty extensive use of skills for kind of personal productivity there. So really excited to have that available in our agent frameworks. Question from Bill in terms of skill support in the RC. So it's in the builds today, and it is in the RC builds. But it's a good question in terms of clarifying, what is actually RC level or GA level. New features like skills are not going to reach the GA level in the next couple of weeks. It's kind of a rule of thumb, and I have on my backlog to do a blog post on this. Features that were announced or added to Agent Framework after the preview, so like after October of last year, are on a different schedule for RC and GA. So they'll stay in preview for the most part. So that's things like skills, like our AGUI integration, Dev UI. Those things will stay in more of a preview form until we stabilize them after GA. Hopefully that helps. Okay, any questions specifically on the skills integration? Otherwise, Jose reached out to me the other day, and he's got some interesting stuff that he's been working on. So I'd love to give the time over to Jose for a few minutes. I know you're busy in the chat, so just waving while you get attention and you can get yourself set up.
I'm set up.
Take it away. When you are. You take about 15 or 20 minutes or so. Go over what you've been working on for evals. And then we'll do general Q&A after Jose's done. So stand by with your questions or drop them in chat. Thanks. Go ahead, Jose.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks, Shawn, for inviting me. That's a pleasure. So I was showing this thing called AgentEval, which I've been building on my holidays. So, developers, when we have some free time, we get creative and create things. And I build this, and I've been building this for the last 2.5 months, more or less. So basically, we are talking about .NET Evaluation Toolkit for AI agents. AgentEval is a comprehensive .NET toolkit for agent evaluation. Evals, as Shawn said, it measures tool evaluation, RAG metrics, stochastic evaluation, model comparison, and it was built initially for Microsoft Agent Framework. And since past weekend, thanks to a friend of mine, it supports semantic kernel as well, and everything which uses Microsoft.ai.extensions.ai, sorry. So basically, it's bringing what Python frameworks can do for Python, AgentEval does for .NET, including some parts of red teaming that some of these Python frameworks take money for it. Here it's all MIT, all free. And everything comes from, I was supposed to share, I forgot about sharing. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Nice. I don't see that in the screen yet, but I trust you. So that's what we did. AgentEval.dev is the documentation. It's on NuGet. It's on GitHub. Created an organization for it. And for years, agentic developers I have so far have imagined writing evaluations like this, and today they can. But let's focus first in the greatest problem. The biggest thing, and I hope I can create a bit of polemic in the chat, is most teams are doing AI like a sense fire. They do cool demos, but not as I keep hearing, we have chat with your data, we do RAG, we are good. And first question is always, how do you do RAG? Oh, we vectorize it and query, and yeah, that's it. That's what they do, and then pray, right? AgentEval is my answer. Treat agents like software, measure behavior, catch where tool use, compare models, and stop guessing, evaluating. So even cloud code isn't just vector search and hope, right? Just vectorize it and hope it gets it right. That usually doesn't work, and most of the people here know that, I hope. It's basically an agentic coding tool, talking about cloud code or GitHub Copilot. I don't know how GitHub Copilot does it. Maybe somebody knows. It reads your code base, edits file, runs commands, but the documents, it has they have their own search and index, and they do in a specific way. So it's a concrete context provider, a concrete tool that the agents are using. Yeah. So, but basically, yeah, your agent works great in the demo, but how do you know it works in production? That's the challenge I'm facing. And basically, I ask out, so I reached to the community and got the response. So about 40% of the people are A-balling, manual testing. Ooh, that's good, but still not enough. It works once, then I deploy in production. What can go wrong, right? 20% is we don't. Okay, good luck deploying that. Some people are using integration with Python that work on .NET. So that's an added cost. And other people are doing some custom scripts, some framework, which, well, it's additional cost. So another problem that we had is that we had some tools for Python. We had Raggers, AgentEval, Inspect AI, PromFu, Giscard. For Microsoft in Azure, we have a nice setup, but of course, it's not integrated in the code, right? So you cannot shift left, which is what I propose. And here, I propose AgentEval, right? So the net evaluation gap is real. Well, not anymore. What's needed? What I thought to do is quality metrics, toolchain evaluation, security testing. Yes, security, it's important. Statistical rigor, model comparison, trace recording, and yeah, and stochastic test, right? That it happens once doesn't mean the next time it will run properly. LLMs are non-deterministic, so good luck there. So one good thing to do is use a lot of tokens, yes, but test that like 20, 30, or maybe 100 times. And of course, I love Fluent APIs, so I put it once, so you can do Fluent checkings of, hey, I have a travel agent, I should have call tool search flights before the tool book flights with argument whatever, and never call tool delete all customers and have no errors, right? How cool is that? Having that in your code before you even deploy that, be sure that everything is working. And then I added as well LLM as a judge, right? So it's another feature I dropped that you can put some assertions and you have an LLM that measures that. I also have a panel of judges, so you can do that in a triad of judges, so it's a lot more statistically correct. And some capabilities on red teaming, which usually you get charged for them. So I'm checking some probes, they are called probes. I map them to Mitre and to, of course, OWASP top 10 LLM, which are the standards of the market. And I check for prom injection, jailbreak, PII leakage. PII stands for private identifiable information leakage, insecure output. I'm not going to read all this, right? But you get the idea. And yeah, I think it's time to see some code, right? I think we are good. This took like 5 minutes. Shawn, you tell me. So basically, what you're seeing is visual. Good, great. So is the source code of AgentEval. I split it before it was a monolith. This weekend I had some fun. Here is what is the adapter for MAF, Microsoft Agent Framework. It feels right to say MAF. What acronyms do you use internally, Shawn, for referring to Microsoft Agent Framework?
Math.
Okay, math. Okay, fair enough. I like it. I like Agent Framework though. So basically there is a core, there is some abstractions. So I try to decouple it a bit because otherwise the agents get confused. And yes, some data loaders for exporting. And what I think I show you is just one example live. It's basically here. So I'm not going to show you this one. I'm going to show you the complete example, right? So basically, I create a travel agent, which here I can do with a mock or non-mock. We are doing everything real today. It had some tools, search flights, book flights, send confirmation, get user confirmation, and cancel booking. Nothing more, nothing special, right? Okay, I'll come back to the demo, sorry. Then I create a evaluator chat client. I need to look at the thing, or yes, and then I create what I call is a test case, right? In its name, I give it a name, search for flights for Tokyo, it's the input, right? I want the expected output contains Tokyo, and expected tools, search flights, book flights, send confirmation. This is already test. It will check if this is confirmed or not. And then I add an evaluation criteria, which it will use LLM as a judge. And I give it a passing score, evaluated on top of everything. Then I give it a ground truth for RAG style metrics, flight booked confirmed to Tokyo for March 20, 2026, and some other metadata that it's simply for classifying this. Then I add some options to track tools, yes, track performance, yes. So it tracks the time it takes on every tool call and the precedence and how they are invoked. I evaluate the response. I made the output verbose, and I give it a model for cost estimation. Yeah, at the moment you have to add it, right? And then I simply run it synchronously. I pre-may while it's streaming, the usual you do in Microsoft Agent Framework. And then I show here some criterion and some explanation here. And then some performance details but everything from the result, which is the object that contains it all, right? So everything gets executed, and then you get a result with everything that you have asked it to do. And then you can console the result later on this way, right? So result tool usage should have called search flight with argument, whatever, and have call tool book flight, after tool search flight, and have call order search flight, book flight, send confirmation. How cool is that? Come on, guys, you're not, I can see some reactions. You have this icon on top, react, you can say, hey, I give you a heart, I give an applause. Do you like it? It's free, it's for you. No reactions. Should I hang, guys? I don't see any reactions. Shawn, do you see any reactions?
There's
are
lots
some
of reactions. It's cool,
so
man.
many reactions, Jose. So many.
Okay. Otherwise, it's I close it, right? It's and then I can check the performance as well. Performance should have total duration under whatever, estimated cost under that because cost control, and have token cost under 10,000 because efficiency, or our managers are, oh, you're taking too much cost on cloud opus. Everybody's saying, don't use it, it's too costly 3 times. They have not used the fast one by accident. And then you can check the actual output for some responsible AI or some validations. And you can do some additional thing. But I think the best thing is I run it, and you see that this works for real. Let me bring that here. So I will press 2, real mode. I will do 0, the real example. I will continue the debugging. Continue. Okay. So now it's doing streaming with everything, right? Get some outcome. And here we can pick a bit what is in the output object, right? So we get some criteria results. So response explicit mentions destination as Tokyo. It's met true, right? That's LLM as a judge for you. And yeah, error, false has error. That's good. Performance. We get completion tokens, estimated cost, the model that was used. We got if it was streaming and some other information as well. And some suggestions, yes, LLM as a judge gives you some suggestions on how can you improve your prompts. How cool is that? Hey, it would be better if you stayed the book flight meets the under $800 condition and include a brief mention of flight cost to reinforce the price constraint were respected because they were not fully met. So it gives you a recommendation. How can you improve your agents? I love that. And then the timeline, which of course, So I'm creating a timeline internally that can get exported. I get the tool invocation and everything which happens that I can track, I record it. So you can do, live time on the debugging of what happened in your agent call, right? And you have that and you can export that as a JSON. How cool is that? Do you like it? Come on. I like it. All right, let's continue. Where is the 5? Yeah, so basically, that's it. We get here, for example, response shows price consideration, but it does not show these under dollar. We get some performance metrics, time to first token, but that's normally usually when we're doing streaming, don't have any tool error. We get call timeline, very cool, and expected tools were met. Fluent assertions, tool usage, performance, everything was called and performance were good, and response, content, assertions all passed. And yeah, and then some more summary. And that's basically it. I could show some more things, but here this demo is doing dog fooding. I think Rasmus asked me LinkedIn for it. So yes, it is. And in AgentEval samples, you have quite a few examples of the different features, which I've been like checking most of them this last weekend before the release. So yeah, basically I'm doing some perform snapshot testing as well. I can do some conversation evaluation. I can do workflow evaluation, which is pretty cool, and workflow with tools. So I'm going to show you that because still I have like 6, 7, or 8 minutes of the time, if I'm not wrong. Shawn, you control me. And then I can do some policy safety, data sets, and export. So I can export things so you can have proof of the test. I can also do stochastic evaluation and compare models. Yep, I can run tests like many times and give a statistical difference on how do the models behave and give a recommendation on the best model. Some quality safety metrics as well. I can combine different models with different runs, but well, don't overdo it. You know what happens, it's costly. And there is some red teaming features and a benchmark system and a calibrated evaluator, which is pretty cool. It's LLM as a charge, but with different models. And you can, at the end, you get a statistical combination of them. And I'm adding some extensibility, and this last weekend I add some cross-framework evaluation support. So anything which you can do with Microsoft Extensions.ai, which is basically semantic kernel, you can use you can use AgentEval for it. You can use it for semantic kernel, you can use it for this, and also I made it so you can use it with any endpoint. So I develop a tool, a client tool, don't have that much time, but with that time, you can test any endpoint that's OpenAI API supports, which is basically all the LLMs. I hope it's cool. It's open source. I like you to try it. It's free. Let's take a look at the workflow. If my AI did not break it. So I'm creating a trip planner workflow. I was showing that to Jacob and Ben like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I hope it still works because this has went through 2 RCs already. And maybe today, if there is another RC, well, it needs to go through it again. So so basically I'm creating that. I'm creating a trip planner. I create a chat client agent. You get the point, each one with tools, right? And at the end, I'm creating a simple workflow, trip planner to flight binding, to hotel binding, to presenter binding, and that's it. It's a trip planner workflow, a sequential workflow. I think the best thing is I show it to you. Set a startup project. I have always to look for it. Yeah. Ooh, that's a big menu. Which number was it? Anybody can help? No. sample 10. Okay, so I put 1, 10, and there we go. So creates the workflow test case with not everything, right? And it's running it. I have not tested it in a while, so I hope it works. Otherwise, can complain to the demo effect. Yeah, search flights, book flight. We are flying to Tokyo. I've never been to Tokyo. It's on my list. Yeah, well, so it has error tree planner for tool calls. It even prints a timeline in a very lame output so far, so I've not polished it that much. I would like to print this timeline. Do you think it, well, could be a nice feature, so you can see when these are called in time and what time do they take in this case, but I think it's something in parallel, but yeah, maybe I have to properly check that the printing on this is good enough. But as I'm outputting everything, I can simply print it in a proper way. And the prop structure assertions per executor, tool level, graph structure assertions, yes, it has that. They work and everything works. But I think it's time to take a look at some assertions that I have here. It's a stop, yes, because they are quite cool. Some ideas.
While you're doing that, Jose, I think I saw a couple folks with hands up or questions in the chat.
Yes, shoot ahead.
If you have a question for Jose, shoot. I think now's a good time.
Yep.
Raise your hand.
Feel free to unmute yourself. I don't know why everybody's hiding behind the camera. Oh, yes, it's recorded. Yeah.
Jose, I just had a quick question. Have you done any experimentation to see which model gives you the best results on your evals in your framework?
Honestly, I try the GPT-4o and GPT 5.1 because I got a quota. I'm a Microsoft AI MVP, so I got some credits for free. Thanks, Microsoft. And yeah, so basically not all of them, right? For the multi-touch, I try Gemini together with other two from different providers, and the results were quite interesting. So in a way, yes. I hope that responds to you.
Well, I was wondering, like, is there a model that you recommend specifically for running the evals against your agent? Like, does 4.0 seem to work best, or is it 5.1, 5.2?
I think when it comes to LLM as a charge, having a reasoning model helps a lot. So I would go for the extra cost just to ensure that it thinks very well before giving you the response, right? It's one of the high quality models, so I would check this model list on reasoning capabilities and give the one that can reason about text the most. So I mean, at the end, what it's analyzing, it's either code or documents or text, and analyzing and checking out if something is doing a hallucination. I mean, it depends on the task, of course.
Yeah, so because I know that I saw, for instance, GPT-4.1. I saw significantly degraded results on running my evals with the .NET evals framework versus GPT-4.0 or 5.2. So I didn't know if you had seen similar patterns.
Your .NET Eval 4, we're talking about Microsoft extensions of AI evolutions.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, I'm using that one, so I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's a great framework. I'm using it. I'm just extending it, and I implemented some additional things which are not in the Eval framework of .NET. So just to be honest, I'm not a fan of reinventing the wheel. Yes, here I am. Here is what I wanted to show you, right? So here is the output of the workflow, which is super cool. I love this. So should have a step count because Trip Planner has 4 agents, have execute orders, Trip Planner, flight reservation, have completed within time span, whatever, have no errors. How cool is this for a workflow? I mean, I think it's it's pretty cool. And I can do as well per executor. So I can check what each executor has done or not, right, at 2 level. And also, I can check it in a bit more detailed way, and I can check the graph, which Ben, are you here, Ben? I know that Ben loves and people here loves graphs, so I have a graph structure properly formatted, have nodes, right? Have entry point and have traverse edges. So I want to know, hey, it went through this edge, right? And have used edge type of the type sequential. So yeah, I'm doing that. So I think this is pretty cool. I'm going to stop, and yeah, going to stop that. And of course, these timeline JSON execute. Yeah, timeline JSON generated. I'm not sure I'm printing it. No, I'm just getting the length. Yeah, but it's outputting the outcome. So I think it's pretty cool here. So I will stop sharing. Any other question around? There's some in the chat. I think awesome, fantastic. Yeah. Thank you. You need to check it. So if you can give me a star, we open source people that love and like open source feed on stars. So if you can start the repo, which I will share in a moment. Let me close these. I'm going to share again. Yeah. So this is here. I'm going to share it in the chat. The documentation, I think, is not bad as well. So I'm going to share that there. So if you share this, that would mean the world for me. I like to do this for adoption. I built that for myself. I started doing that. So here are a NuGet package. I'm not going to do more. After this meeting, so I will have to leave at more or less at 50. I will be here as well. So I'll be talking about Microsoft Foundry with my friend Alexander Wachtel and some framework that you may know called Agent Framework. So as well, if you want a bit more later, I will probably be explaining the same as well, a bit more. I will talk a bit on the AgentEval as well. So it will be a bit of repeat, but yeah, that's it. That's there. You are very welcome. It's free as well. So next thing.
Oh, thanks, Jose. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Perfect. You want to take over?
Taking back over. That was awesome, Jose. And I think as you kind of go through the comments, I think you'll see folks are pretty excited about this. Definitely do give it a try. And like you said, go give them a star. We all love getting those stars on the GitHub repos. But really awesome to see that. And I do like, you were talking about, Jose, is how we can shift left with evals, like how we can move those further and further upstream. I think that's something that, like, us as a software development community are going to continue to learn and get better and better as we're building AI and agent systems. Is kind of unlearning some of the old thinking around deterministic testing and more around evaluation based testing with these kind of stochastic methods and properties inside of our projects.
That's it. Thank you so much, and also thanks to you, Shawn, to you, Ben, Jacob, and everybody in the Microsoft Agent Framework team, and previously semantic kernel and AutoGen teams. I mean, I would not be creating that if you have not welcomed me and helped me to get into the framework and accepting me as a contributor initially, right? So it's kind of my contribution to you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, we love it, and we thank you, Jose, and just for everyone else on the call, if you do have a community project that you're working on, we'd love to hear about it, and it can be something that we can feature in our weekly office hours. So, please reach out to me if you do have something you've been working on that you'd like to share with the community. We do have time during this call where where folks can do that. Otherwise, I'll open it up to more general Q&A. Folks have been waiting patiently with their questions. We still have a few minutes left. Either drop your question in the chat or raise your hand and come off mute, and we can go through those. I see Steve already dropped a question in the chat. I just saw popped up. When MAF agent framework serializes and provides a list of skills to an agent, is it possible to pull all optional data also including the skill? It doesn't seem to currently. Sergey, if you're still on the call, this might be a good question for you about skills and how our framework provides those to the agent.
Sorry, give me a second. I read the question. What MAF serialization is. And saying additional metadata. So, oh, you mean just like name and description?
No, like, so the schema, you can add optional metadata. So like in the example picture, we have like author and domain, and anybody could add any optional fields of metadata. That's going to be kind of important for some of the tooling that we're building with skills. So I was just wondering if that's planned to be also serialized and pulled in, since it does seem to be part of the skills standard, OpenAI standard.
So it seems that it's not part of the standard. So as far as I remember, the specification says that like it's a name and description that kind of like can be included, and maybe optionally path for the like file-based skills. But the rest of the metadata is kind of like out of the scope of what is advertised to LLM, and it's done for like a just in order to save the context.
So just name and descriptions required, and all the optional fields. There's no way we can potentially parse those as well.
If you look at the skills.md file, right? So there is like a front matter thing which is sit on top, right? And that from front matter means just like its name, which is required, and description, which is required, and both has like a restriction on the length, right? Then there is like license, version, and metadata, right? So those fields. Only 2 of them, according to specification, again, I need to double check because it's like being changed at the moment. Only name and description are supposed to be advertised at the first step to LLM. So when you're running a prompt, when you're asking LLM to do something, when an agent to do something, so together with your prompt, we are sending like a list of the pairs, name and description of each of the skill you've registered. So if you have 3 skills, we'll send like 3 pairs. It will be name, description, name, description, name, description.
Right.
So no metadata, no license, nothing else is included. That's again according to the specification. I'll try to find it.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're gonna have to probably just edit the description field with whatever additional data we want to provide, so that the LLM gets it, so it can make the right tool or skill calls to load in.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know how this, this is all so new as far as the schema goes, and like you said, it's changing. I don't know if there's any ability to maybe have an option in the builder options to potentially load all of it if it exists, or
potentially we can expose like a callback or delegate or predicate, whatever you call it, like which will be like an option, and that predicate will have a skill as a parameter and will return a string. And in this case, if you provide that callback, you will be responsible for providing whatever you want. Basically, you will have a skill and you can form any information you want out of the skill to be included and advertised to LLM. Yeah, that's definitely an option.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I see while you're here, Sergey, there was another question on skills from Brian. Are we able to specify automatic loading versus dynamic loading, as is the case in tools like Cursor and Claude?
Dynamic loading versus automatic loading. So
yeah, so in cursor skills, my understanding is in that front matter section, you can specify when the skill is loaded into the agent's context, either when the agent is called up or dynamically, like on demand, it gets loaded into the agent's context, like when you call with the / command or tell it to load the specific file. That might be just useful for context management.
Be honest, I wasn't aware of this requirement. The only requirement I was aware of is just it should be loaded on demand. So whatever you have in skills, including the skill itself, and all its pieces are loaded on demand. So at the beginning, all the skills are advertised, and LLM say, oh, well, I need this skill, and then say, hey, whatever the skill provider, give me that skill, and then the skill MD is loaded into LLM context, and then LLM part that skill and see, oh, well, there is like an asset reference, and then it again asking context provider, give me that asset, and after that, it may look at the asset and say, oh, well, I need to execute that script, and then again asking context provider, give me that script for execution, something like that. But yeah, that's the only requirement I was aware of.
No, that makes sense. I might just have a flawed understanding. So
yeah,
thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Irina, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I have a question a little bit related rather to authorization. There is a use case. For example, my agent is kind of scheduled, and it's how to call it ephemeral, right? So it's scheduled and created by a scheduler, and it needs a user context. I use Microsoft Entra identity provider, and this agent should call Microsoft Graph API with a delegated token, delegated type. Is there anything in agent framework that could help me to somehow handle it, or I have to look into, like I'm sending a link in the chat, or this is the option I need to look into, that agent user impersonation protocol and that agent ID SDK libraries, which is mentioned in the warning box, if you see that, if you follow the link, right? So I don't know how to properly, like it's just an idea at the moment, but I need authenticated, right? An authorized user, because via Microsoft Graph, that user would need to, like the agent on behalf of the user would need to do some manipulation, let's say with the email, like some user personal data. And looks like every agent should be like personal user agent, like my agent like created for me, your agent created for you, and so on, like not one shared amongst all users. Like, yeah. This is the question. What are the options?
It's a good question. I don't know if anyone from the team has a better answer than I do. I do know, like, this is the trend, especially for authorizing like Microsoft Graph and M365 resources, some of the stuff related to Agents 365 is through the Microsoft Agent ID. So you're definitely on the right track there in terms of implementing it. I'm looking through the docs here, and so I see the warning. Is there a reason, Irina, that the SDK, the Microsoft Identity.web and Agent ID SDK library were not something that would work for you?
No, I didn't try yet. I
Okay.
just think whether I should further follow this
Yeah.
docs,
yes.
or probably there is something like in agent framework, something related to authentication, authorization, like.
So
well, like, go ahead, Wesley. Yeah.
I actually added a sample around authentication and authorization there a couple of days ago, but you know, it's a very broad area, and you know, this sample is specific for hosting an agent in an ASP.NET service, and how you would, based on the incoming user token, you know, how you could set it up so that based on the incoming user token, you then change the things that tools are allowed to do based on the scopes that the user token may have. I'm currently changing the sample a little bit to try and make everything a singleton. Right now they are registered as scoped, but it really depends on what kind of components you have, whether you can make it scoped or singletons. I missed the start of your question, Irina, because I was typing an answer on the chat. But
if the agent is scheduled like a Azure function or by cron job in AKS, right? It's just like it doesn't it's not interactive. Like user will not be involved, so the user context will have to be somehow sucked from somewhere, from somewhere, and created, right, by the agent itself, constructed artificially. Probably even HTTP context, but it will be not. It won't be created by a real HTTP request, right? But artificially. So
sure,
it might be scoped, for example, but it won't be naturally created, right, by request.
Sure. I mean, I suppose if you're using some other framework, you know, there should be a way for that framework to handle authentication for you, and hopefully it should allow you to access the credentials in some sort of ambient way as part of the request. I'm not super familiar with functions, so it's not something I want to express an opinion without looking into in more detail. But certainly in ASP.NET, you know, that's the common way. Is like you can basically use the HTTP content accessor that you get from DI that you use to read the HTTP context that contains the current requests, the tokens that are attached to the current request, and you can access that. I mean, you can inject that via DI into your tool.
I do have, but this is rather like a background service that is hosted together inside a web application, for example, right? But I'm thinking about scheduled, but is not a part of a web app. It's rather like
it's like a background a background job that's like that has no interactive user at that time.
Right. It's like Windows service, for example, right?
Right.
They just like triggered by a scheduler at some time, right? Like round the clock, regularly, and there is no user, basically.
Yeah. So for those, I mean, you would typically require an application token that has fairly unrestricted access to the data that's available on Graph. Essentially, you know,
client credential flow. You mean, right? Like client secret, client ID, and
and
acquiring token via this flow.
Yeah, and more specifically, you need to authorize the application. Well, when you register your application in Entra, I'm assuming you're using Entra. You have to give it access to.
It's not secure, because this way the application will have permission to behave on behalf of any user, right?
Sure,
there will
sure.
be,
It's very risky.
Too much
yeah,
responsibility for one.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But with background services, you have to be the one that makes sure that the agent doesn't exceed its authority, because there's you don't have access to user token. There is no user involved. You don't have the user credentials in order to get a user token. So you can, of course, use an application token alternatively, but then it's up to you to ensure that that nothing in that service exceeds the authority that you want to enforce with that application token. This is, of course, nothing to do with agents or agent frameworks. It's just a general design concept when it comes to building these sort of services. But it is obviously, if you can avoid it, that's a good thing. But it is hard to avoid in many cases. And it's really good as well to look at all of the different scopes and that are available, and always pick the least permissive one, the one that has the least permissions of all of the ones that are available, because typically there would be a few that are on each of the graph APIs, and if you can scope it down to the least privileged option that's available, that's obviously always a good thing.
Yeah, agree. All right, thank you. So
okay, I'm just gonna pop in here because we're right at time. Thank you, Irina.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Good chat this week, everyone. And I'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
Thanks.
Have
Bye.
a nice evening, day. Bye.